My name is John. I work for a certain publishing company as a sidekick. I'm turning 40 this year and still haven't found a partner. That's not to say I've never dated, though. In college, I had one. We got together at a book group and started dating after realizing how much we both loved the same novelist. Since we worked close to one another after graduation, we continued to be close. We never got into arguments. Our bond was as strong as it had ever been. I used to believe that I wanted us to remain this close forever and perhaps even wed in the future. It seems that I wasn't the only one who thought that. Our meetings became less in number as she became closer to a senior colleague at her job. She ended our relationship by the time I was in my second year of work. Later on, a friend of mine revealed to me that she had fallen in love with a dashing executive at the ID firm where she worked, a man whose appearance and salary were far superior to mine. Men are ultimately chosen by women based on their appearance and financial status. I never got a girlfriend again after losing my self-confidence. I haven't even remotely expressed interest in ladies in my life. Nonetheless, I enjoyed the company of my coworkers and was really content with the connections I had at work. It has been more than 10 years since I left my prior work in my mid-20s and joined this company in the middle. It's easy for me to fill in for my less experienced colleagues when they make a mistake, even if I don't hold a prominent position. I used to occasionally go out for drinks after work and listen to my coworkers' grievances while giving them advice. They therefore truly depended on me. He then came up to me one day, the day after I had assisted in covering up an error for a coworker, and said, "We've got news. Have you heard? A young woman will be joining us from headquarters as a new employee." I put both of my hands lightly on my colleague's shoulders as he became giddy over a young woman and murmured, "Easy there, calm down." Shortly after he regained his breathing, our boss and the aforementioned young lady entered the office. "Starting today, Surin will be the manager of this division," she stated. "My name is Catherine. It's nice to meet you, everyone." The ovation grew louder when she nodded slightly and acknowledged them. As the applause continued, my subordinate colleague whispered to me, "I heard Catherine used to be a department head at headquarters." It struck me when I heard that. Impressive for someone so young. My employer later confirmed that the reports were accurate by telling me the same thing. Given her history of ascending to a supervisory role at such a young age, she put in even more effort than the gossip implied, completing assignments quickly and demonstrating her abilities. She became my superior despite being younger. She was amiable and incredibly skilled, fitting right in with our department right away. There was one thing, though, that bothered me. Frequently, I sensed her stare from her far-off desk. It was an inexplicable gaze rather than a flirty or contemptuous one. I initially assumed she was perplexed by me because I'm a middle-aged man who still plays a supporting role. She came to my desk one day, a few days into this, and asked if I could get something ready for her by the next afternoon. She was really capable, so I assumed she could complete it more quickly on her own. But after realizing the basic information she required, I chose to assist her because of her efficiency and the fact that I knew she must be overworked. I told her, "I can finish this today. When it's ready, I'll bring it over." She remained still as I returned my attention to my computer. She had a shocked expression on her face and her mouth was open when I looked up. I said, "What's wrong?" She appeared to awaken and utter, "Oh, nothing." "I'm grateful," she said, eventually returning to her desk. As agreed upon, I turned in the finished paper shortly before work ended that day. She glanced from the document to me and back again, seeming even more astonished than before. I steeled myself, fearing she would tell me I wasn't doing a good enough job. She finally managed to say, "Amazing," as her first word. She went on, "Who exactly are you?" Then, it seems that my presentation was so flawless and sophisticated that it surprised her. Observing the situation, a younger colleague was pretty intrigued and was ready to approach me when another colleague sensed the tension between us and took the younger colleague's hand, saying, "We'll be heading out now," and walked out of the office. I met her eyes after waving them off and said, "Just a sideline employee, really." However, as she looked up at me with a perplexed expression, she blurted out, "No offense, but this French document isn't something you can just translate. Even our headquarters staff finds it complicated, but you've put it together so well. It's astounding." I explained, "In actuality, I studied abroad for a year during college," while she kept looking at the paper and then at me in shock. I devoted all of my study time to learning French. During that period, interacting with native speakers helped me become even more proficient. She looked shocked, but her face didn't change when I explained. "I understand that you speak French. However, there is information outside of French in this document. It takes time for an average employee to translate non-French text. However, you completed it so swiftly. How many languages are you able to understand?" I only gave a brief response, about 5, stating the obvious. She appeared even more shocked at my quick answer, as though she had seen a ghost. She held her head in surprise and remarked, "I can't believe someone of your caliber isn't in a top position here or at the headquarters." It felt like a transgression to simply tell the truth and have that kind of response. There was an uncomfortable silence. She paused for a moment, then smiled at me, as though letting go of the stress. She then started to tell me the real reason she had asked for the document. "To tell the truth, your work ethic has amazed me since the day I started here. John, it wouldn't be shocking if you were making it at our headquarters, considering your age and the caliber of your job. I've always been curious about why. So that I could evaluate your skills, I had you work on this complicated document. John, from what I've heard, you quit your last job, came to work for this company in the middle, and have been working in a low-key capacity for more than 10 years. Do you not want to move up the corporate ladder in the future?" I wondered if my coworkers felt the same way about me when she told me that. However, I wasn't all that interested in things like fancy titles or promotions. She chuckled at this and replied, "You're an interesting guy." The jobs that were assigned to me were much harder after that day. She invited me to go with her to a meeting at the headquarters later on. I reluctantly accepted and made my way to the headquarters. I was a little anxious because it was my first trip to the corporate office since my mid-career interview. The topic of discussion at the meeting was an upcoming youth business book. I had assumed before the meeting began that I would simply attend and keep quiet. But once it started, I was unable to stop thinking about it. Before I knew it, I was making several suggestions, and the majority of the headquarters staff concurred, their expressions expressing surprise. I was called into the CEO's office following the meeting, as he was also in attendance. Catherine and I went. Catherine was correct, after all. "John, you're incredibly gifted. Talent like yours shouldn't be wasted. I would really like you to come work with our editing team at the main office and put all of your skills to use." Startled by this unexpected invitation, I uttered, "Me? Really?" I was interrupted by the CEO, who covered my hands with his own and whispered, "I'm counting on you." The CEO put so much effort into the handshake that I felt I couldn't let him down, even if I still wanted to decline. I vowed to myself that I would try my hardest, and then said, "Understood." Not long after, I was moved to the editorial division. Everyone was curious as to why Catherine, who was so capable, had been moved from headquarters to my former office. However, this time, I got the exact opposite reaction: skepticism and coldness. Is this elderly man currently being moved to the headquarters? All these time, wasn't he just your average office worker? Is he willing to participate? I heard similar remarks a lot when I initially transferred, but I didn't let it depress me. In order to satisfy Catherine and the CEO, I had to produce results here. I worked nonstop after that, oblivious to the looks and hushes. The effort was worthwhile. After a while, even the coworkers who had previously disregarded me started to acknowledge my contributions. In my former role, I had never had the sense of fulfillment that I have now in this setting. I've come to enjoy this place of work. One day, I was eating lunch at my desk at the office after acclimating to my new role. Catherine sent me an email while I was sitting at my desk eating lunch. Want to go out for drinks after work today? Upon reflection, I realized that I hadn't really spent much time with Catherine outside of work-related gatherings since I moved the headquarters. I thought it would be appropriate to go as a way of showing thanks since I felt like I owed a lot for how far I'd gone. Catherine was already sipping her drink when I got to the assigned bar. When Catherine saw me, she waved her hand and displayed a carefree look she would never display at work. The CEO and a few coworkers have informed me, "John, it seems like you're doing fantastically." Actually, not really. I'm only now starting to get used to the work and atmosphere of the office. It's been hectic each day. Following their mutual update, she said, "May I ask you one question?" With a somewhat different, more serious expression than before, she asked. I merely nodded in answer, not saying anything. "John, you are so talented. Why were you put in such a backbench position?" I'm not a heavy drinker, so after just half a mug of beer, I was already tipsy. Perhaps as a result, I began telling a story to my coworkers that I had never told any of them before. On my resume that I submitted to this company, I listed a different university even though I actually graduated from Harvard. Although I was unable to see her face, I might assume that she was astonished in the same way that she had been when she quickly understood a difficult material. I ignored her response and carried on with my tale. When I started working for my former employer more than 10 years ago, I was a dynamo from the beginning. My goal was to become an elite member of the corporate ladder. Not only did I possess the drive, but I excelled beyond my peers' expectations. My coworkers shared my same level of drive for a while. Although each day was demanding and competitive, it felt satisfying. But eventually, I started to notice jealousy coming from my peers. They would remark things like, "Of course, he can do it," before I realized it. He graduated from Harvard, and I found myself accepting their work as though they were doing it to spite me. I'd eventually experienced depression as a result of the mental strain. Before I knew it, I had resigned from my position. Because of my Harvard education, I was held in such high regard and assumed to be capable of handling anything. I started to question whether it would be less stressful to act less capable. I lied on my resume and claimed to be a Harvard graduate for this reason. After telling her my story, I turned to face her. I was relieved that she seems more interested than I had anticipated. That seems difficult. Now, I sort of get it. To be honest, it was simple at first to act incompetent and marginalize employees at this organization. But I could have coasted till retirement without ever feeling this fulfilled if I hadn't met you. When I moved to our headquarters, I didn't feel at home at first, but now I truly appreciate my coworkers and the atmosphere. I am very grateful to you, Catherine. I'm really grateful to you. Being able to show my thanks was one of the main reasons I came here today, and it felt good to do so. She appeared a little shy and remarked, "Oh, please, I didn't do much." Her expression suggested that she was grateful for the praise. We spoke for a little while more until she abruptly realized, "Oh, right. I should have invited you here today because I want you to meet someone. John." It appears that this person is a professor and, like myself, a graduate of Harvard. He is a well-known professor in the publishing industry. Therefore, I've heard that his books will undoubtedly become bestsellers. He can be a little tough and unyielding, but if it's you, perhaps he'll listen. Catherine and I went to see the professor a few days later. Catherine opened the door and said, "Hello." "You again." The professor, who was sitting and deeply immersed in a newspaper, asked with a frustrated grimace. "Today, I'd like to introduce someone," Catherine stated. She prodded me forward with a forceful push from behind. "Hello, I'm John from Tay Publishing. Please meet me." John attended Harvard, but he put another college on his resume, and he was fired from his work until recently for disclosing my background. It caused me to immediately bend my head in shock and humiliation. The professor's response, though, was unexpected. "Isn't that interesting now?" he said, bursting into a happy giggle. "Well, let's hear your side of the story, at least. Did you come to talk about publishing?" Catherine had warned me about his difficult and stubborn personality, so I was on the lookout. But now that the ice had melted, I felt relieved. At the professor's suggestion, Catherine and I sat down across the table from him. I was worried that he would delve into technical subjects that I would not be able to address. But our chat stayed informal. We lost track of time as we talked about me, about Catherine, and briefly about the publishing business. The professor had clearly been more receptive to me. "Dude, John, you're not just smart, you're entertaining. I would think about publishing with your agency if you were the chief editor," the professor remarked. "Really?" "Yes, but the goal here is a bestseller if we're doing this right. Please put your best effort forward. I don't want to sacrifice the content. I'm depending on you, John." I'd gained his favor with that. As Catherine had planned, we were able to talk about publishing. "John, we succeeded. Even that unyielding professor was touched by your persuasiveness," I remarked modestly. "It wasn't just me." I said, "I didn't do anything, but I felt happy inside like never before. It was unbelievable to me that I would get to collaborate with someone as prestigious as the professor. Just thinking about it made me eager for every day. The professor and I wrote a business book for young adults, and it was a huge hit. I worked even harder since I was sure that with the professor, we might create future masterpieces. It was never a pointless endeavor. The books that I and the professor published continued to make the bestseller list, and I was much more visible in the editing department than I had been in the past. And I don't just mean that it had become more well-known. It's impossible for me to compare the sense of fulfillment I had to my prior employment or to the days when I was simply another face in the crowd. Later on, Catherine and I moved from being coworkers to a romantic connection. We recently got married and were blessed with a stunning daughter. Before I met Catherine and the professor, my life was just coasting through typical days till retirement. After that, things changed dramatically. Because of my excellence, I detested my job and once handed up the title of Harvard graduate, something I had worked so hard to obtain. But it was interactions with people that could be considered fate that allowed me to change. I was merely fortunate to come across something important. However, I want to encourage anyone who wants to improve their current circumstances to not be afraid of change. Do something. If you wait for an opportunity, you might not discover it in your lifetime, or you might only get it when you are 40. Well, it's always better to seize opportunities early. 40 isn't too late. You can live longer and more meaningful days if you take advantage of opportunities as they arise. I would want to pose this question to individuals who are happy with their current situation. Is that really the best you can do? I can't deny that the professor has helped me establish a reputation as an editor with a track record of blockbusters. However, I've given my all to my work day and nights since the professor informed me he liked it. I'm glad to state that because I put my all into every book, even with their little success, my modest amount of hard work has undoubtedly helped those bestsellers. So stop and think for a moment. If you believe that you are not at your limit and that your current circumstances are indeed the result of giving it your all, then I implore you to take immediate action. Work is always rewarded in some fashion. If a few interactions can significantly alter my life, even after fabricating my education to become a sidelined employee, then yours. Poor Scott just graduated from high school, but I suppose I'll give him a shot. I'm going to ask him a really difficult question. I will give him $100,000 if he can figure it out. What? What on earth is she saying? She was the girl I admired in high school. The person who showed kindness to a lonely man without friends like me. I attended the reunion merely to express my gratitude for her generosity, but she had changed greatly. And then she made this ridiculous offer to me. She moved in close, smiling, and whispered in my ear as I gaped at her in disbelief. I bet you've never seen $100,000 in your life, huh? I'm a rich girl, and I'm offering you some charity. I'm the sweetest, am I not? A wave of frustration washed over me. And here is how the girl I had long admired turned out. I could ignore it, but even I have boundaries. It irritated me. All right, I'll comply with your request if that's how you want it. Okay, so you'll give me $100,000 if I figure it out. Oh, so you're willing to do it? Exactly what I would anticipate from a poor man. I must admit that I admire that spirit of tenacity. All okay, just keep an eye on me. I'll find a solution quickly. Allow me to demonstrate a never-before-seen comeback for you. Sullivan Scott is my name. These days, I work for a big IT company. I earn enough to live well, but my father passed away in an accident when I was growing up, and we had financial difficulties. In addition, I struggled to fit in and had a lonely school life, possibly due to my nature. I struggle to manage my emotions and understand social cues. I understand, yes and no, but I simply don't understand the common ambiguous statements used in Japanese. I simply keep quiet when I see someone struggling or depressed because I don't know how to help them, which gives the impression that I'm cold. People always kept a certain distance from me as a result. In particular, the females would make fun of me and call me names like Iron Mask or Living Doll, which just made me feel more awkward in their presence. For me, building groups during physical education or school functions was one of the most challenging aspects. The phrase, all right, everyone, get into groups of 4 with whoever you want, which Miss Andrews would say, was a sign that someone was being singled out. One group after another would emerge, and I was never asked to join any of them. Oh, Scott omitted once more. Is anyone open to Scott joining? Most individuals would pretend they couldn't hear Miss Andrews when she called out. Miss Andrews' voice might occasionally persuade me to join a group of 5, but even then, the other 4 would talk, and I would be completely excluded. Until I reached high school and discovered a true savior, those lonely school years persisted. Sarah was her name. She genuinely asked me to join her group when she noticed that I was being left out on a school trip once more. What? Is this your charity work once more, Sarah? Emily, her buddy, told her. Come on, you realized it's sad. The excursion is for school. Shouldn't it be enjoyable? Okay, Sarah, if you insist. Okay then. Adding me created a perfect 4, as Sarah's typical group consisted of 3 people. But ever since, whenever she could, she has always included me. I gradually began to be able to communicate with people because of her. Sarah, as it turned out, was the daughter of a company president. Not only was she beautiful, but her refined manners made her the center of admiration in our class. The mere fact that someone like her would reach out to me was enough to make me feel elated. During high school, I quietly harbored feelings for her, but in the end, I couldn't bring myself to confess, and we graduated without anything happening. While most of my classmates went on to college, I took a job at a small company to help support my mother. I remember the big stir in our class when everyone found out that Sarah had gotten into Tokyo University. I knew she was truly out of reach, a rare gem. Since then, I've had my share of ups and downs and now work at a different company. My income is worlds apart from what it was back then, enough that I can finally make things easier for my mother, who used to juggle multiple part-time jobs. Still, I haven't really changed when it comes to dealing with women. Even today, a woman I work with scolded me. Get a move on. I've been telling you all morning that there's a meeting this afternoon, haven't I? If you're this behind on your tasks, you won't even have time to grab lunch. Sorry, I'll just have a sandwich in the car or something. Oh, that's terrible for your health. You can't keep doing that. All right, I'll try to be better from now on. Seriously, if I didn't push you, nothing would ever get done. The one nagging me from behind was Michelle. She's a beautiful employee who graduated from a well-known private university. At my current job, the schedule is packed down to the minute. I'm the type who forgets the time when I'm focused, so without her support, I can't seem to manage my tasks well. One day, in the midst of my hectic routine, I received a postcard. It was an invitation to my high school reunion. To be honest, I didn't have any friends to go with, nor did I really have the time. But a part of me wanted to see Sarah again and thank her for what she did back then. Before I realized it, I'd already checked attending and mailed back the reply. By the way, what's this evening appointment? I thought we had a meeting with another company that day. Oh, that. It's my high school reunion. I thought I'd finally give it a shot and go. The venue is close enough that I can make it right after our meeting. Wait, didn't you say before that you didn't have any close friends from high school? Yeah, that's true, but there was someone who helped me out back then. I thought maybe now I could finally thank her. Oh, is that so? Michelle seemed a bit displeased, though I couldn't quite figure out why. Maybe she was annoyed that I was taking time off for a reunion while everyone else was swamped with work. Hey, why don't you leave early that day and relax a bit too? Go have a drink with a friend or something. Her expression immediately soared even more. No thanks. I'll be here handling all the pile-up paperwork as diligent as ever. That's all I've got going for me. Besides, don't forget, we have an early flight the next morning. Oh, right. Phew. Absolutely no after parties. All right, we're heading out at 3:00 a.m. Yeah. I got it. With a 3:00 a.m. departure, staying out drinking all night isn't an option. I finally started to understand why she seemed so irritated. A few days later, I headed to the reunion venue. It was held in a ballroom at a downtown hotel, filled with quite a crowd in a dazzling setting. There was karaoke, bingo, and some sort of game set up on a whiteboard with geometric magnetic tiles attached. In the center of the room was a particularly glamorous group, and right at the heart of it was the woman I'd come to see. Wait, who's that? As I walked in a bit late, someone whispered, glancing at me, but nobody seemed to recognize who I was. Back in high school, I wore second-hand uniforms, but today I was dressed sharply in a suit. My build was different too, having gained some well-toned muscle over the years, so it wouldn't be easy for them to connect the dots to the guy I was back then. I walked over to the lively group surrounding Sarah and called her name. It's been a long time, Sarah. Right. Yes, I am Sarah. But who are you? She tilted her head slightly, looking at me with a hint of blush, unable to recognize me at first glance. It's Scott from our class. Thanks for always talking to me back then. What? You're Scott. As I thanked her, the woman beside Sarah gave me a suspicious look. That was probably Emily, the same friend who'd always been by Sarah's side in high school. Unlike Sarah, she'd been bluntly unpleasant to me, and to be honest, I didn't like her at all. Well, seems that gloomy aura from back then is gone. But in the end, you're still just Scott, aren't you? How brave of you to come to a reunion when you don't even have any friends. Hey, Emily, that's a bit harsh. Sarah stepped in to soften Emily's jab, but something felt off. She wasn't the same Sarah I remembered, and her next words confirmed my suspicion. You know, it'd be a bit of a problem if you got the wrong idea. The only reason I bothered to talk to you in high school was because you looked so pitiful being all alone. I thought being nice might help with my college recommendation. I figured it couldn't hurt to stay in the teacher's good graces. Thanks to that, I got into Tokyo University, became Miss Campus, and now I'm next in line at my dad's company. I don't have to worry about appearances anymore. Being liked by a poor, unremarkable guy? No thanks. You get what I'm saying, Sarah. You're being way too honest. The second they realized I was Scott, the people around us started looking at me with a sneer. Look, I'm not here because I want anything from you, Sarah. I just wanted to thank you. Oh, is that right? I guess you finally understand your place now that you're all grown up. Oh, wow. Sarah, you're really letting it all out there. Snickering echoed around us. Hey, isn't that watch Scott's wearing super expensive? One of her friends made a show of noticing my watch. Look at Scott, a high school graduate with a fancy watch. Must be a fake. It's hilarious how flashy poor people try to look. I was ready to just ignore them and move on when Sarah suddenly grabbed my arm. Hey, what are you doing? Just a little bored, that's all. Come on, humor me for a bit. Sarah picked up the microphone in the hall and made an announcement that was beyond humiliating. Everyone, we have Scott here, a high school grad. Remember him? He was pretty invisible back then, but do you remember? The crowd's attention instantly turned toward us. Scott here is wearing a fake luxury watch just to impress everyone at the reunion. The laughter began almost immediately. No way, how embarrassing. This was a nightmare. I wanted to disappear. And for our poor Scott, I think I'll give him a chance. I'm about to give him a super difficult problem. If he can solve it, I'll give him $100,000. Wait, what? What is she talking about? As I stared at her in stunned silence, she leaned in with a smug grin and whispered in my ear. You've probably never seen that much money in your life, have you? A rich girl like me is offering to help you out. Aren't I just the sweetest? I was furious. The girl I had admired all this time turned out to be like this. I could just let it go, but even I have my limits. It got under my skin. If that's how you want it, then fine. I'll take you up on that. All right, so if I solve it, you'll give me $100,000, right? Oh, you're actually up for it. That's what I like about poor folks, their scrappy spirit. The crowd was buzzing with excitement. Oh, go for it, Scott. Just the other day, a friend mentioned an incredibly hard problem. They said anyone who solved it would be a genius. Even someone from Tokyo University couldn't solve it right away. Think you can handle it? She began writing the problem on the whiteboard. It was a question from the 1990 International Mathematical Olympiad held in China. That's what they call the Master Demon Pro problem. This is way too hard. Looks like you're in big trouble, Scott. Amid the mocking laughter, I responded with a straight face. This is all you've got. The answer is right in front of everyone watching. I breezed through the problem without even breaking a sweat, solving it in less than a minute. No way. I can't believe it. At first, people around me were stunned, not comprehending what just happened. But then they burst into applause and cheers. Unbelievable, Scott. This guy just won $100,000. As the crowd's mocking turns into cheers, Sarah shoots an angry glare at me. Just because you managed to solve one problem, don't start acting all high and mighty. A lowly high school graduate like you will always be just that, a poor nobody. I didn't mean to upset her, but it's already out of control. As I'm pondering what to do, out of nowhere, I hear Michelle's voice behind me. President Sullivan, it's about time. If we don't get you to the hotel soon, it might affect tomorrow's work. Oh, Michelle, seeing her here, someone who wasn't supposed to be in this crowd, gives me an odd sense of relief. The people around us, hearing her address me, are now buzzing with confusion. Wait, President? Who is that beautiful woman? Also, as it seems, someone here has been quite disrespectful to our company's president. I'd like to clarify. Mr. Sullivan graduated from Cambridge, and our company ranks among the top in the nation. He's neither a high school grad nor poor, for the record. Now shall we, Mr. Sullivan? Yeah, let's go. As Michelle and I start to exit the room, gasps and murmurs ripple through the crowd. Wait, I know her. She's the famous assistant from SKT System Solutions. So does that mean Scott is the president of that company? Come to think of it, I think I've seen him in a business magazine before. The truth is, I am the president of one of the top 8 companies in the country, SKT System Solutions. I wasn't exactly a bad student back in school. I just didn't like drawing attention, so I kept my grades average on purpose. Since childhood, I've had a photographic memory, the ability to retain images exactly as I saw them. This unique memory skill, often called tick memory, made me celebrated as a genius. People had high hopes, thinking I would one day be a pillar of the nation, and I was even appointed class representative in elementary school. However, a class rep needs to lead, listen to others, and unite the class. I wasn't good at understanding others' thoughts, and I often said the wrong things, quickly becoming isolated. The adults who had pinned their hopes on me grew disappointed, labeling me as lacking in cooperation. I'll never forget the cold, disheartened look my teacher gave me. From that point on, I kept my academic abilities hidden and avoided standing out throughout my school years. I was seen as a failure, lacking intelligence, social skills, and money. But my uncle, seeing my potential, encouraged me to attend a university overseas. He found scholarships and mutual aid programs to help me attend Cambridge University. So it's no surprise that my old classmates, who only knew me from high school, scoffed at my name. They never would have guessed that I would become a high-achieving, high-earning president. I hadn't planned to reveal this side of me, but at this point, there's no helping it. Michelle, how long will it take to get from here to the hotel? I've reserved a hotel close to the airport so we can get room service for dinner. Your flight is at 5:20 am. As we prepare to leave, the women who were keeping their distance suddenly light up and start chatting me up. Wait, are you really a president, Scott? If you just told us that sooner. Exactly. We're classmates, you know. Don't be so reserved. As I stand there, baffled by their sudden change in attitude, Sarah approaches with a different, friendly smile. So, Scott, you're the president of SKT System Solutions now? No wonder you solved that problem so easily. Say, how about we grab a bite together after this? It'd be nice to reminisce about old times. Just as I'm left speechless by her about-face, Michelle's voice sounds again from behind me. Excuse me, but there's no way Mr. Sullivan, a renowned young mind of Japan, would waste his time with someone who mocked him. You mentioned giving $100,000 if he solved the problem, but our company's annual revenue is in the tens of billions of dollars. Trying to lure Mr. Sullivan with such a small amount is pointless. The tens of billions of dollars. As Sarah and her friends stand speechless, Michelle takes my hand and confidently leads me through the hall. And just like that, I turned the reunion I looked forward to into a grand showcase of karma. Before leaving the venue, in the car on the way back, Michelle bows her head apologetically. Mr. Sullivan, I apologize for speaking out of turn and being so rude to your friends. Don't worry about it, but you were keeping your current position a secret, weren't you? Yeah, but it's all right. You were just trying to help me, right? I actually appreciated it. You did. Then I'm glad. Hearing that, her cheeks turn red all the way to her ears, and seeing her like that, I find her even more endearing. A few months later, while out in the suburbs on personal business, I catch sight of a woman who looks remarkably like Sarah. Her posture looks weary, a stark contrast to the confident presence she once had. Is that Sarah? I call out, and she turns around startled. It's undeniably Sarah. Scott, are you okay? You look exhausted. When I speak my mind, she gives a bitter laugh. You probably already know, right? Our company got delisted recently. I'm sure you're here to laugh at the one who insulted you. Really? I'm sorry. I'm clueless about stocks. What? So you didn't come over just to mock me? Why would I? I answer honestly, and she chuckles softly, looking amused. Come to think of it, you were always like that. You've never been one to sneer at others or say anything two-faced. Sorry, I guess subtlety isn't my strength. There's no need to apologize. That's actually something to be proud of. Maybe, but it's true that back in school, you were my motivation. I genuinely liked you, so when I heard you preferred intelligent guys, I studied my heart out. That's how I ended up going to Cambridge. In a way, I owe who I am now to you. You do. So, regardless of what happens to your company, your worth doesn't change. I understand things are tough right now, but I don't think giving up is the answer. Don't you agree? You're right, but I've already been working so hard. And while you might be concerned about being listed, our company is highly profitable as a private unicorn. Sure, listing brings credibility, but it also comes with restrictions. No listing costs fewer risks of acquisition. It's a matter of management style. You're smart, Sarah. Why not build the company you really want? You're right. Born as a president's daughter, I've always lived trying to meet others' expectations. But maybe it's time I try my own approach. Thank you. I'm going to give it a shot. Not long after, I hear she launched a new jewelry brand. Previously, they focused on high-end pieces, but now she's also offering affordable items for everyday use. Her brand has garnered significant attention for its successful new market strategy. So I decide to place an order with her brand for my company's commemorative gifts. Honestly, it's my way of giving back to her for her hard work. She soon visits our office. Mr. Sullivan, thank you so much for choosing our company. No problem. I'd heard you were doing well after all your hard work, so consider this both a congratulations and an order. Still, it means so much to me. If you're free, would you join me for dinner after our meeting? As she quickly invites me, Michelle just as quickly interjects. Unfortunately, Mr. Sullivan has a dinner meeting scheduled with a client tonight. Oh well, what about tomorrow or the day after? No, I'm afraid his schedule is fully booked for the next 3 months. Then after that? No, his schedule will remain fully booked indefinitely. Watching their back and forth, I can barely hold back my laughter. I can't help but chuckle, and Sarah looks visibly relieved. I'm glad to see you smiling like this, Scott. What are you talking about? Mr. Sullivan is always smiling. Yes, well, that must be because you're by his side. That puts my mind at ease. Beautiful, take good care of him, okay. Support him well. Of course, even without you saying so, I'll be here to support him for life. Well, that's good to hear. I'll take my leave now, Mr. Sullivan. I look forward to working with you in the future. Sarah seemed different somehow, as though she'd shed her old self. Curious, I couldn't help but ask her. Sarah, you seem different. Did something shift for you? Oh, you noticed. Actually, when my father's company was in trouble, all those people who'd been hanging around me just vanished. I thought they were my close friends, so it was a shock. But deep down, I realized that's just how things are. All the effort I put into being liked was only worth so much, and just like that, it was gone. So I decided to stop caring about what others think and just live true to myself. I see. I think that's great, the way you are now, Sarah. You seem more alive than ever. Thank you, Scott. You said I saved you back in high school, but this time, it's the other way around. You saved me. Truly, thank you. No, it was all you. You're the one who worked hard to overcome it. You haven't changed, Scott. With a smile, Sarah left the office. Since then, we've remained good friends, talking regularly. Back in school, I was at my lowest point, but because of that time, I can now fully appreciate where I am. For anyone feeling like they're at rock bottom, I hope you can take a step back and see the big picture. One day, you'll be able to look back and laugh, thinking, yeah, I went through that too.